The Board of Education's November 3rd, 2025 work session. Please stand as we observe a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Ms. Templeton. Thank you, Ms. Templeton. And Dr. Butler, someone told me that today might be your birthday. Is that correct? Well, happy birthday. We'll sing to you later. Woo. Board members, as you know, the annual Principal for a Day event is scheduled for Tuesday, November 18th. If you would like to participate and have not registered already, please do so as soon as possible via the link provided in the information email you received. Or just reach out to Terry and she will be glad to help, as always. Also, you received an email last week, but just a reminder that the superintendent's evaluation timeline has started and we each need to meet with Superintendent Roswick during the first couple of weeks of December to finalize our individual evaluations, which must be submitted by December 17th. Terry is available at your convenience if you need help with the evaluation tool or formatting. The Strategic Plan Committee will meet on Monday, November 10th at 1 p.m. and Monday, November 17th at 9:30 a.m. in this boardroom to work towards aligning next year's superintendent evaluation tool to our new strategic plan. Finally, I would like to welcome Hardin Valley Academy's Teaching as a Profession class here tonight. We are just so glad that you are here to join us and want to pursue the career of education. And with that, and I know there's a lot of people here tonight, so I would like to just remind everybody that this is the only opportunity that the board has to conduct board business and have discussions on items on the agenda. So we do need to keep the noise to a minimum. It's really hard for us to hear each other when there's a lot of noise out there. So if you do need to answer your phone or talk to your neighbor, we ask that you please step outside to do that. And with that, do we have any changes to the agenda? So we have a motion by Ms. Henderson and a second by Ms. Triplett. Mr. Triplett, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Dr. Price, what?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Before I begin, I want to thank each of you as board members for your time and leadership at last month's board retreat. I know those were 2 very long days, but we appreciate the opportunity to showcase the impact our educators and departments are making. As you heard at the retreat, we're excited and energized about things like the gains that have been made in every subject area, the focus on instructional coherence, being led by our teaching and learning and special education departments, the use of the facility assessment to drive our capital planning, and our commitment to the 2028 promise. The 2028 promise is our commitment to adjusting salaries to market value every 3 to 5 years. We did this in a landmark way by investing $44 million last year. Making this critical investment in our people will require us to be accountable to the approved 5-year capital plan. Doing that won't be easy. It will take discipline on our part, but ensures that we put our resources where it matters the most, with our students and in our people. As you know, Veterans Day is next week. Growing up with a father in the military, this day holds a special meaning for me. Every year we take time to recognize the veterans and active service members who are part of the KCS team. This year is to show our appreciation, all veteran and active staff members have received a special honoring service t-shirt. We've encouraged them to wear it on Veterans Day as a symbol of their service and sacrifice. Staff across the district also had an opportunity to purchase a green version of the shirt to wear on Veterans Day in recognition of their colleagues. So that's going to be cool to see a lot of green shirts on Veterans Day. Looking forward to that. Proceeds from that fundraiser are going to 2 meaningful initiatives. The first is a permanent installation at the Sarah Simpson Professional Development Center, which will be unveiled next Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. We hope this will stand as a long-lasting tribute to the courage and commitment of those who strengthen Knox County schools every day. Also, some of those funds will go to Operation Heroes Hill, which has been spearheaded by Mayor Jacobs, to end veteran homelessness by providing housing constructed by KCS students. This collaboration between our CTE students, local industry partners, and the broader community will result in 20 fully equipped tiny homes being built by students from Carnes, Halls, Gibbs, South Doyle, Farragut, and Fulton. This is real-world, work-based learning opportunities that not only supports our veterans, but also empowers our students to make a lasting impact on their community. Looking ahead, we're also preparing to host a series of meetings for families in Maynardville, Lonsdale, and Beaumont, and Westview communities. These meetings are scheduled from November the 17th through November the 20th, and will provide an opportunity to hear updates on the new K-8 school, share their thoughts, and learn more about programming opportunities for the students. We know opening this school is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for these students and their families, and we're excited to continue moving this project forward. And finally, I want to give a quick reminder that schools in the central office will be closed Wednesday, November 26th through Friday, November the 28th for Thanksgiving break. In that spirit, I want to express my gratitude for this board and the thousands of dedicated educators and staff who serve our students every day. Together, we're doing the vital work of equipping the next generation to shape the future of Knox County and beyond. I'm thankful for everyone who supports that mission here in Knox County Schools. Madam Chair, that ends my report for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Ricewick. And next, we have our quarterly threat report schedule. And I think, Dr. Adams, were you going to speak to this? Yes. Or is Corey, Ms. Lautner?
I think
It's scheduled, yeah.
Yeah, I think sorry if I could interrupt.
Sorry.
I think we're going to actually go to Ms. Lautner for the schedule, and then Dr. Adams will be given that later. I mean, not
Right.
today, but in the future on the banner. Thank you.
Sorry.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we're keeping you on your toes. This is a privilege I share with Dr. Adams, and so you'll hear from him next month. But yes, as Dr. Ricewick said, and those of you on the board are aware, but members of the public may not be, that last year the General Assembly passed some legislation requiring that local boards of education provide a quarterly report on something very specific. And so I'm going to read the letter of the law because it is very nuanced, and then we'll unpack what that means. So the law requires that we share out the total number of incidents reported to state and local law enforcement agencies requiring notice to parents and guardians in accordance with Public Chapter 215 for that quarter and for the year to date. So I'm going to unpack what that means because it's a word salad. But it does mean something very specific, and it means for us that beginning next month, you'll hear from Dr. Adams and the Operations Division receiving a report on 2 sets of numbers. And so the first set of numbers will be the number of threats that meet those qualifications under Public Chapter 215 for the quarter. And then beginning with our second quarter report, you'll also receive a second number that accumulates for the year. So with that being said, what we'll share is that the system we use to monitor threats batches on a monthly basis. That means the last batch just finished for the first quarter. So we're in the process of validating that data, which means that our schedule begins for that quarterly report out in December. And you all have on your desk, but I know you also have a lot of papers in front of you right now, the schedule that we'll be adhering to this year to provide those quarterly reports. And so for the sake of those who are listening in the audience or at home, that just means that our first quarterly report is going to cover the dates of August 1st through October 31st. We'll share that at the December board meeting. The second quarterly report will cover the dates of November 1st through January 31st. That will be shared at the March board meeting. The third quarter report will cover February 1st through April 30th. That will be shared at the June board meeting. And the fourth quarter report will cover May 1st through July 31st, and that will be shared at the September board meeting. So there are a lot of dates there, but because this is a change, this is a new law, we just wanted to go ahead and take this opportunity to contextualize what we'll be sharing and at what cadence throughout the year. Madam Chair, I think that's all we have to share.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lautner. So moving into our regular agenda items, board members, if there is no objection, I'm sorry, I have a lot of papers here. I've lost my notes. I would like to ask that we go out of order a little and discuss agenda item 9C regarding a fund balance designation for the Coward Mill Road project first. I know There was some information about that, I believe, in the superintendent's email he sent out. And Mr. Snowden is here from county. If anybody has any questions, since we asked him to be here, I want to be respectful of his time. If anybody had any questions about that. Ms. Henderson?
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, Mr. Snowden. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank y'all for having me.
Can you just kind of go over, so I know the cost of this road has increased significantly since we last discussed it, or, we last had the price for this. Can you kind of go over, I know because materials are more expensive, can you kind of go over the timeline, like what phase are we in this project? I know the school was built or finalized 2 years ago. It's been being built for like the past 3 years. So can you go through the timeline of the road and why is it taking longer?
Yeah, for sure. I'll be glad to,
Thank you.
Board Member Harrison. And we hate that these costs were kind of what they were. We did, when the school was opened in phases, I think it went K through.
It was K through 2 the first year, and then the entire school when the building was finished, yeah.
Ideally, we would have liked to have had the project in one phase, but due to the school opening sooner than that, we did have to kind of phase it into construction. And in doing so, then you pay 2 mobilizations, 2 traffic controls. You really pay those lump sum items that are quite expensive on the front end. So that was part of it. Obviously, dealing with the railroad there, those are costs that are really kind of unforeseen. I think that was almost $1 million. That really, we have no choice. They pretty much come in and they're going to tell us what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And obviously the right-of-way acquisitions, that's always a challenge when you try to acquire someone's private property for public use. That just takes longer, and that second phase just had a lot more acquisitions because a lot of the properties to the east, or pardon me, to the west of the school were subdivided, and there was right-of-way there, so we were able to do the work within the existing right-of-way. And then obviously, if people seen, where we're building the new bridge over Beaver Creek, that was off alignment. There was a major impact to one property owner. It kind of split her property up. So unfortunately, a lot of these costs, we've certainly done everything we could from an engineering perspective to keep costs down. But due to the fact that we had to do it in 2 phases to accommodate the school's timing, and, just the cost of things since COVID. I mean, I think, we kind of codified this in 2020, and then I'm sure Garfield and your team will tell you, I mean, costs have just exponentially went up since then. So, but we do agree these figures are the last figures. This is the last time we'll come in front of this body and ask for any money, and we hate to even do that, but we do think that this is going to be a good project. The first phase got done on time. The second phase is to be completed in April of 2026.
Okay,
We think we'll beat that. We think it'll probably be probably sometime in the March time frame, have that bridge open and have traffic to where you'll have a pedestrian facility on one side all the way from the veterans nursing home all the way to the school. So we're excited about getting the project done, and hate for the cost issues as well as the time delay, but I assure you we've done everything we can to try to mitigate both.
I appreciate it. Thank you,
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your all support.
All right. Does anybody have anything else for Mr. Snowden? All right. Well, thank you for coming tonight. So moving into discussion of our regular agenda. Any questions or comment? Is that better? Okay. Any questions or comments on items 5A, B, C, 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5? Mr. Triplett? Mine's working for both of us, I think. Talk loud. Oh, it won't be on video. Okay.
Try them one more time.
Tell Steve to try again.
Yeah, mine works.
All right, it's working. Sounds good. Am I good? Okay.
Okay.
What do we do with the results of this test? What happens with the results of this test? Like, what does that turn into? How does that affect how we educate, that kind of thing?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Triplett, I'm going to actually have Dr. Phillips come and speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Triplett, members of the board. Students will take the COGAT screener, and from the results, we'll know students who have displayed characteristics of intellectual giftedness and students who have not. Students who have not will receive enrichment support during our intervention time, or what we refer to as core extension, which they should already be receiving in small group learning environments. Students who do display characteristics of intellectual giftedness could move forward with a formalized comprehensive evaluation through our special education programming. It is definitely a team decision as to whether or not they move forward with that formalized comprehensive evaluation, which would include the parent as a contributing party in that decision.
Is this new this year, or is this?
Yes, this is a new screener. This is a screener that has national norms. We thought was a very important element to add to our screening process.
And is this like a change based on the gifted and talented and those moves and all that?
The change in departmental restructuring, yes, this came as a result of that.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so moving on to 5C, 6 or 7, 8 or 9, 10 or 11, 12 or 13, 14 or 15, 16 or 17, 18 or 19. All right, board policy 6A or B, C or D, E or F, G or H, item I, okay. Grant 7A or B, C or D, E, contracts 8A or B, C or D, and regular agenda items 9A or B. Mr. Triplett.
A couple questions about the accountability report. What's the impact? There are some areas that we did not succeed in on that accountability report, some of the goals that were set for us. What's the impact of that? Like, if we don't meet that goal, is there funding issues that come as a result of that? What happens as a result of that? And then I noticed that the response to it, some of that was related to, a lot of it seemed to be related to just the investment in salaries, which is, I think, part of it. But, you know, obviously, part of even our legislative priority, some of these notes around ELA in third grade and all of that are a big, you know, been a big conversation. And it seems like there should be more than just the salaries around that. So I don't know who needs to answer that. I guess that's Corey.
Mr. Triplett, Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you so much for the question. So I'll take your two questions in succession of one another. So to answer the question of what happens as a result of not meeting one of the goals, to our knowledge, that's really just an opportunity to begin a conversation with the community. And so when the State Department opened up this new report, it is relatively new to districts. I think this is only our third iteration of a TISA accountability report. The goal was to increase transparency. So to just publicly label those goals, those outcomes, and then the dollars put behind them. So I say all of that to say, you know, this is the outcome, and we're not aware of any additional outcomes at this point in time. And so if that answers your first question, I'll say in response to the second, and I know Dr. Phillips is here and could speak a little bit more broadly than I could to the full breadth of work being done around third grade ELA and increasing those proficiency rates. What I will say is that because this is primarily a financial document, what you're going to see is new investments. And so when we have those continued investments that are building, and so part of what we talked about at the board retreat was that we've really not seen the byproduct of all of that K2 investment realized in our TCAP proficiency rates. This will be our proof point this year to see the result of that year-over-year investment in the early grades, and we're really looking forward to seeing those results and having them. You haven't seen necessarily new investments in terms of new strategies that would be reflected here. You do see the summer learning that educators are participating in that's continuing, kind of deepening their knowledge and being able to carry on that work. But you won't necessarily see that continuation of those strategies. So the injection of new dollars into salaries was one of the major changes from last year to this year. And so from a financial standpoint, that's really what we're focusing on with this document. And so I'll say all of that to say, I do think it does fall short of capturing just the sheer breadth of work Dr. Phillips and her team are doing. And so I would hate to not turn it over to her and let her share a little bit about that, but wanted to also provide some context behind what goes into this report and why.
So this report is just primarily what we're doing financially to improve that particular goal,
yes.
Not necessarily other work. And then we expect better results out of this K-2 work that we've done for the last few years, correct?
Yeah, I think just to reiterate what Ms. Lautner said, the strategies that we have been implementing, I think really in focusing on building those early literacy skills has been in the K-2 space. A lot of our investment in additional support and training for schools has come in that space. And so with third grade being that first year that students are tested on a state test and kind of can demonstrate that, you know, we've seen positives and we've seen some kind of, I think, leveling out, if you will, in our third grade data, but that's also been students who have not been through multiple years of that focused direction and training for our staff and really for the exposures they're getting in the classroom to, you know, this highly aligned grade band specific material that we're providing for them. So we are anticipating and hoping that we'll see that continued growth over time as students come in the door and have multiple years stacked on with those high quality instructional materials and those practices that we're supporting our teachers with.
Sounds good. Thank you.
If I could just add one thing. Thank you, Mr. Triplett. So I do think the history of this, and Ms. Himmelgarn, correct me if I'm wrong, because I remember when it came in, the history of this was really after the TISA change of funding that brought additional funding to districts. I think they wanted to make sure there was accountability of legislators of how those dollars were being spent. So I think, again, nothing to add to what they're saying, but it wasn't really assessed to say, are you using it or not? Are your strategies are not correct? It was more, are you putting the appropriate amount of money toward these things to get that done? And there's never been that accountability. It's kind of, you know, one big check from the state, and then you spend it how you want to spend it. So now there's accountability back for the legislators who gave additional dollars to say, no, we're seeing where the money's going, and the public seeing where the money's going, so it's not on the state, right, if the funding's there. So just a little bit of history on how that came about. It's fairly new, Jennifer. Is it year 3 of reporting it, 2 or 3, I think? Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. So 9B. We've already discussed C, so moving to D. Does anybody have any questions on item D? Ms. Bite?
I don't know if I have any questions, but just saying that, like, I appreciate some of the explanations that we've been given on this tower construction, and also appreciate that the price that has come in is much, much, much lower than we had initially been quoted. So I think that this is definitely more palatable for what the ask is. So,
Yeah, and Ms. Lautner, do you want to speak a little bit to that? Because I know you and I have had that conversation.
Thank you, Ms. Christie, Ms. Pike, members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity because we know that it looks like this was great savings that came in. And while we are incredibly excited to be able to offer this price point for this very needed project, I do just want to provide some context that we've provided to you all for the sake of the public as well. So when we were talking about this project last month, what we didn't have was a formal quote or a budget from PBA yet. And so while we knew the work needed to be done, we didn't necessarily have a price point to attach to the project. So what you all saw last month was that funding ceiling. That was the excess dollars of the increased tax revenue that was left over after all of those other expenditures that were billed out on the memo that you all reviewed. And really that was the only good frame of reference we had to say we know the project can't exceed this amount of money because this is what we have to work with. The good news is that now we know it definitely will not exceed the amount of funding that we had to work with. And so we are excited to hopefully be able to proceed with this work and pursue that secondary egress for the sake of our visitors and our staff. And so just also wanted to provide some context in terms of how we went from one number to one very different number.
Thank you, Ms. Lautner. So is there anything else on that item? Okay, so moving on to 9E or F. Nothing? Okay, so back to our work session agenda. So now we're back on item 8 of our work session agenda, which is discussion of the 2026 legislative priorities. Anyone? Oh. Ms. Templeton?
How do you want to proceed?
Um,
I mean, I'm happy to
You
start
want
talking.
to start? I mean, I know that we
I'm
have
happy
some
to.
items from you, right?
I'm sorry?
Was
Do we
there
want to
an
go
item
ahead and mark off things that are already from
Do
the
we want to
original
start
one?
with where last year's?
We can start with last year's, or we can, if that's a good starting point, or we can start with what people have submitted. We'll start with last year's. That's a good suggestion. We'll start with last year's, and then you guys can speak to what's been submitted. Is that okay? All right. So does everybody have a copy of last year's? So is there any discussion on the first item, funding for preschool students in the TISA funding formula?
My question is, on that one, that's already been done, right? So we could remove that if it's already been taken care of?
Dr. Brown, has that preschool?
The funding for preschools in the TISA funding formula?
Jennifer?
Ms.
Mrs. Kimball, go
Christie,
ahead.
Madam Chair, Ms. Henderson, no, it has not been done. So we do receive other types of grants that we use to fund pre-K, so the
Okay.
voluntary pre-K grant. There are some funding in other grants as well, but it is not, pre-K is not included in our TISA allocation.
Okay, thank you.
So any other questions? Any concerns about leaving that one on the legislative priorities? All right. Ability to conduct lotteries for educational purposes, was this one addressed? Do you remember, Mr. Triplett, or? It was not, okay. This is the cakewalk, isn't it? Yeah, we want to have cakewalks, right?
We want to have cakewalks.
It's not, okay. So the third item's academic and retention decisions. Ms. Bite?
Thank you. Yeah, I think that we have made some good headway. I still feel pretty strongly about this, but this year for me anyway, I've kind of steered a different direction, and that's in the email that Ms. Coatney printed. Number 3, that invest in early literacy to support the 3rd grade law. I really want our ask to be to support K through 2, tutoring and instructional materials, the summer program, and all of the things that have really have provable outcomes for helping students instead of just focusing on 3rd and 4th grade and the first time kids are being tested and traumatizing them. I don't know if other people feel strongly about this wording, but I would like to include somehow that we make an ask for the K through 2 supports.
Mr. Triplett?
Are you recommending then swapping those two? Is that what your thought is? Possibly. The only question I ask, and I don't know if this is Dr. Wilson, is there currently any supports for K through 2, any literacy support, financially that they provide us?
Yes, so I think our, we definitely dedicate portions of our title funds to strategically support those areas. I'd have to get you some information in terms of details exactly on the summer learning. You mentioned that one. Obviously, that is directed to students more. We do offer summer learning, I think, K through 8. But the primary is looking at those students who were required to serve, and that's where the bulk of our funding probably goes for that. So I'd have to look into that to know exact dollars that we're getting from the state in terms of support of that. We do have a budget, but I don't know the expansiveness of that. But in terms of dedicated, this is K2, I don't believe that we have anything that comes earmarked specifically for that outside of the summer learning dollars and, again, how we're using title funds and things that we have.
And so title funds, that's federal funding and not state funding? Is that
sorry,
correct?
Ms. Bach, I'm sorry. She was asking me a side question about summer learning. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. The title funds, so that would be federal funding, not state funding?
Correct.
Do we get any state funding?
Again, I'm aware of the summer learning dollars. I don't know of any special dedicated funds that go to that. That's like a grant specifically to that for K to 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've just heard so much about the 1-to-3 tutoring ratio and how great that was. All of the teachers really loved that. The parents loved that, and all of the other support. So I think if we're, holding, the kids accountable, giving them those supports would be really great.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to add real quick to Dr. Wilson's point and to yours, Ms. Bike. Those funds are given to us, and what Dr. Wilson said is, we have to serve the kids who are impacted by the retention law, which typically those funds are pretty much depleted by the time we take care of our rising 4th graders or whatever, the kids who would not meet the retention in 3rd grade. So that takes most of our summer programming is that. The state says you can use it for your K2s. However, we don't have the funds that really get down there. So there may be a few classes here or there that are offered, but not at that rate. And you're correct. When we use the ESSER funds that came during that stretch on the backside of the pandemic, there were a lot more, and when I talk to principals, I hear the same thing. There were a lot more chances to kind of intervene earlier with tutoring. They were afforded and staffed, and now again not because of the retention law, but we have to focus those resources to 3rd grade, 4th grade, because those are the requirements so that those kids can be promoted. So that is where the bulk of those dollars go now, which doesn't leave a lot for the K2 space.
Ms. Templeton?
So for clarification, you're asking for preventative funding, so that as a stopgap to decrease the impact of the 3rd grade retention.
Yes.
Correct?
So I think, we have the screeners and we have all of the other things, but we also still need the tutoring and all of that as well.
So would this be it's clearly similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
it's in the same vein, so would it be like a Part A and a Part B?
It could be,
Is
yeah.
that what, because I do like what we have now, but it is vague. And we have discussed in previous years being more specific with our asks. And I think adding this to the bottom to say, we want local control, right? We want to be able to manage our schools for the best education of our children, right? And this is how we think we can do it. We want you to help us fund K through 2 interventions. Is that correct? I mean, not interventions, but early literacy support.
Supports.
Support.
Yeah.
I would be on board for that extra paragraph to go underneath it as,
I don't even know if it has to be an extra paragraph, honestly. I think some of the wording for the academic and retention decisions can be kind of like condensed and then just adding in an extra ask for the K through 2 funding.
I think that makes sense to be specific.
I'm fine with that.
Who's going to write that up?
Mr. Triplett, did you? Oh,
Sorry.
hold on. Mr. Butler's next. Reverend Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like what you said in the email, and I think that's specifically talking about funding. And I think if we're going to ask for money, and don't put it in with the other piece. I think what I'm hearing the superintendent say is that they're giving us some money that we can do all these things, but what we are having. The money we have is addressing the retention issues. So it's addressing it after it's a problem. So what I'm hearing, what I see, invest in early literacy to support third grade law, meaning that you put the money to deal with it up front. And that's what I'm hearing you say. We don't have that. You gave us some money to do it all, but in order to address what we perceive the outcome problem to be, that's taking all the money. We don't have any money to prevent it or to get better. We wait until after a problem versus taking care of it up front. Once again, if we're going to say invest, let's say invest. Let's ask for the money and not put it there because it kind of gets lost there. So I think it's a separate issue. It's involved with that issue, but it's a separate issue than what we have now. So I would like to see it as it is, or fleshed out a little bit, but not tied to what we have now.
Mr. Triplett, did you have something?
Yeah, just one of the biggest challenges we have with the legislative priorities is, we've got to rewrite them. A lot of the stuff we talk about that's school-related, the staff ends up doing, but this is our document. So somebody just has to take ownership of it to say, I'll rewrite it and get it back out.
Right.
I mean, I don't mind taking the notes from what we discuss and on some of these, writing something up and resubmitting it to Ms. Coatney. I don't mind doing that.
Perfect. Ms.
I
Templeton?
just wanted to, for clarity's sake, for you, if you're moving forward with that, Reverend Butler just proposed having 2. So essentially it's separate.
I'll do 2 versions.
So, okay.
I'll do it together and separate.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? That. Okay, moving on to teacher evaluation. Does everyone feel good about this one? Keeping it? All right.
Oh, sorry, I have a question.
Ms. Pike.
Was there any headway or any initiative or anything about the teacher evaluations that was accomplished last year? Does anyone? No? Okay.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. Mr. Triplett, you said there wasn't any that you were aware of either. Right. Addressing unnecessary requirements. Mr. Triplett.
I feel like this one is a little generic, and if we're looking to be specific and ask legislators to do something specific. This one doesn't really fit that standard, so I'd recommend we remove it, but
Yeah, I would agree with that. Anyone else? Reverend Butler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize. I'm looking at the different papers that I've received, and I was thinking that we had one that was addressing that, but that's addressing local control. I see that that you submitted was about local control and not about unnecessary requirements. So.
All right. So does anybody feel strongly about removing that one? Okay. So moving on to local, Ms. Fauna Ridley, I'm sorry.
So we're talking about just removing that one totally? I'm a little bit hesitant to agree to that because teachers already have so much on their plate. And I feel like if we remove this, it'll be free for all and they will just be inundated with extra things that they have to do and don't have the time to do it. That's just my opinion.
Anyone else? Okay, so moving on to local control. I mean, this is one I feel strongly about. I do think it's best when new laws come about if they do give some control to the local bodies to decide what's best. We know one size doesn't fit all. We're a large district and, you know, our needs can be very different from a much smaller district. So I do, this is one I feel strongly about. Ms. Spike.
Thank you. I completely agree, you know, especially in our, our retreat that we had a couple weeks ago, where we were able to hear from a lot of our district leaders, all of the really amazing things that we're doing. And I do think that sometimes some of the things kind of like mandating across the state really prevents us from being able to do the best by all of our students. And that's where I think keeping the local control is really important, because we are, I keep looking for another school district even outside of the state of Tennessee that really is similar to ours, and I'm consistently struggling to find it because we're so big. We have rural students, we have urban students, suburban students, and we're very diverse. So I completely agree with that.
Ms. Templeton.
Are these different at all? Are they, for what you wrote on number 3, and then what is actually on, is it the same? Or did you?
They're exactly the
change?
same.
Okay, I was really looking for that difference, and I couldn't
Yeah,
find
no,
it.
they're the same.
And I thought, I am
No, it was
missing
copied and pasted.
something. Okay, it was copy and pasted. Thank you for that. And I agree. I think that, you know, harkening back to the work that Dr. Phillips was able to do, and then the state recognizes and wants to implement the work that the KCS team is doing. That's a powerful message to say that we have really, really smart people doing really, really good things for the children in Knox County. So, yes, I fully agree.
Mr. Triplett.
yeah, I did have one question to Ms. Fauna Ridley's point about, you know, the unnecessary requirements. Those aren't specific. This one's not specific either, but I'm wondering if we ought to have, it's almost like divide these things up. Like there's specific priorities that we want them to do this, do this, do this. And then these last two on this sheet are more like guidelines to consider when passing anything related to schools, you know? Like it doesn't matter what you're passing, even if it's something that's not on this list. We want you to consider, don't give us unnecessary requirements, you know, for our teachers, and think about local control and making that a priority. I wonder if we have specific priorities, and these are very specific on things we want them to do, and then we have sort of like a section of, you know, I don't know how you term that. Somebody can wordsmith it better than I can, but maybe that's Corey's job over there. But some we can think through, like, these are guidelines to consider, things to consider when passing anything related to schools.
All right. And my biggest thought on local control is when something passes, I prefer the language, districts may do this, or, should they need to. I mean, I do, that's kind of where I'm coming from on it. So, Reverend Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm leaning in direction of what Mr. Triplett just said, and in revisiting the addressing unnecessary requirements along, because when I think about that along with local control, that's as you say, that should be a general consideration anytime the state or the in whatever entity they're looking at education, they should consider that. I do think that under the addressing unnecessary requirements, we are asking them to do something. And we're asking them to establish a comprehensive, collaborative, thoughtful review. And so, because if we have local control over something, but they've already passed a law with unnecessary requirements, how do we address that if they don't have a review process that maybe we can participate in? So I think that's, I'm not, once again, I'm as Mr. Triplett said, I'm not the wordsmith, but if we can look at a way, and maybe these two items be the lead out in the legislative priorities, and then we put the specifics underneath that.
Right. Yeah, I believe the addressing unnecessary requirements, like you said, it is something we are asking them to do. And I was just asking Ms. Coatney, I think we've had that on there for maybe 3 years now. So maybe coming up with some different language might be helpful. Are the wheels turning over there, Courtney? Can you help us with this? All right. Ms. Templeton.
Yeah, are you thinking like change the format a little bit just to make it bucket things, just so that your eye will kind of catch things as they go down? So if we said, these are the specific requests here, and then these are, stealing Reverend Butler's words, general considerations prior to bill proposal. Like,
Sounds good. You just wordsmith. Thanks.
Yes, good job.
here for you. I'm like, hang on. Something, but that's what you're hoping for, is something just so that we're bucketing these things to make it make sense.
Yeah, and I think a couple of these others may also fit in that category, some of the new ones we
Possibly.
have maybe as well, so.
I agree. I like that.
All right. So that finishes what we have, or what we had for last year. So now, Ms. Bite, did you want to start on the ones you had submitted?
Sure, thank you. So I did the kind of like explainer, because I know sometimes I can get a little bit wordy with things, so I thought I will save you all of my words. Here are the explainers I did for my 3. And the one I've already talked about was the investing in early literacy to support the third grade law. Per usual, I am open to some wordsmithing, and I love collaborating, so I'm open to modifying these in any way that really represents the board best. But the other 2 that I haven't talked about, and so number 1 is stabilize federal funding education, or federal education funding, which won't be a surprise based on the resolution that I brought a few months ago. I think everyone can agree that kind of like last minute pull of the $3.4 million for Knox County schools and the last minute switch around we had to do, we have some great things that came from that, but the way that it happened was not great. So I would really like the security to ask the state for the security basically to backfill or secure any freezes, delays, or anything like that, basically so that we can effectively plan as a district to know that when we go through budget season that we're going to have, I know we don't always know exactly what we're going to get, but we can have a good idea and we can know and count on it year over year and actually have kind of like a, you know, a real process about it instead of having to last minute switch. So anyway, so that was my thought with that one. And then the other one was the opposing the unfunded immigration status mandates. I know that we've received a lot of emails and there have been a lot of talk, and this was something that, you know, was happening last legislative session. I'm not, some of my concerns are what this is going to do to our district, both in the students, the families, the community, but also just the education process. We're supposed to be educating students, not checking immigration status. So it makes me really uncomfortable when we start to have that conversation, because I worry about legal implications on accidentally profiling someone incorrectly and what that opens the district up to. You know, our students and families are very afraid right now, and I would love for them to feel like schools are a safe place for them. And obviously, I think education is extremely important, and I feel very passionate about public education because, you know, private education is great, and I think it serves its space, but public education is for all people and really is for the good of everyone, even if you're not a person that is participating in it. So anyway, so those are my three. Thanks.
Mr. Triplett.
Let me ask you, Ms. Mike, just based on what you said is a little slightly different from number 2 in the sense of the unfunded. Like,
Yes.
I think you're not wanting any versus,
Well,
because if they said, all right, we're going to give you X number of dollars to do this.
Yeah, they're not going to do that, though.
Well, I
You
mean,
know.
so, but I mean, based on the way this is written, if they did, this wouldn't apply.
I mean, that's true.
So maybe we'd want to change that wording. I don't know. I just, based
Yeah.
on what's written and kind of, I think what you're passionate about is slightly different, and I just didn't know.
That's true. When I watched it go through sessions last time, there was no talk of it being funded, and so I look at the burden on us, like if we are going to actually have to do this, you know, I think about how many hours our law department is going to have to go through this, the different people that we're going to have to hire, the whole department that we will truly have to and we don't have any experience in this. So that's a lot of funding. So that's why I kind of named it unfunded, because there was no funding talked about. It was just kind of this like mandate of like, y'all got to do this.
Ms. Templeton.
Yeah, I had a question about the number 1. Stabilize federal education funding. Request the state of Tennessee to guarantee funding backfill for any federal, should it say federal reductions, freezes, or delays? Oh, and then it says federal. I missed that. Sorry, I read it 3 times. Education appropriations, ensuring school districts can plan effectively and avoid budget crisis and educational shortfalls. So, I mean, ultimately, it comes back to educating the children. So that was kind of my first thought. I like this. I like knowing that we have a reaction to an action of some kind. You know, we have a voice, and we have the ability to request funding that we've been told is coming, and then it didn't come. So it naturally would lend itself to the fulfillment of that promise, which would have been similar to the Title II, III, and IV that happened this summer. I think that makes sense for us to ask for funds that we thought we were getting, so we don't have hiccups. So I'm in support of that, because I don't see a reason why we wouldn't like stick up for ourselves to get the money that we were told we were going to get and budgeted for. So, and then, yeah, that's my question.
Yeah. I guess I just want to add one last thing. I'm so sorry. On number 2, I just thought of this. In my little explainer, one of the things that I brought up is that, you know, if mandates are going to come through, I really would love to see some sort of impact statement or because I think it would be important for the legislature to know what impact their laws are going to have before they pass them. So that would be one of my asks, potentially.
All right. Ms. Himmelgarn, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Sorry, and you might not know off the top of your head. But in terms of federal funding, I know we have Title I, II, III, IV, IDEA, Carl Perkins, then we've got the free and reduced lunch. Is there?
The total.
Yeah, do we know how much money?
Madam Chair, yes, don't hold me to this exact dollar amount, but all of those together, roughly 50 million for this year. So that would be all of the titles, IDEA,
50
Perkins.
For us.
For us.
Thank you. Ms. Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So number one, I really appreciate the intention because it is incredibly difficult when we're expecting to get money and then we don't get it. I would love if, and I don't know if this is a question for Ms. Bike or if anybody else could explain how the process works, because I'm having a little bit of a mental block in if it's federal funding and they don't give it to us, I am confused how we can ask the state to give us money that's not the state's to give, but I may be missing something. So if anyone has any explanation for that.
I think I can explain a little, and if there is anyone that could give like a more official explanation, but I know that when there was talk about the state kind of refusing federal funding a couple years ago, it was stated by our legislature that they had the money to make up the funds. And I think that education being so important, that should be something that they're willing to do if something happens to our federal funding.
Ms. Morgan, did you have anything else?
Well, I didn't turn it off, but okay, thank you for explaining that logic.
Okay. Anything else? Ms. Templeton, did you, or Reverend Butler? Did you, I'm looking at,
But sure.
well, I'm looking, you submitted, did we have something you submitted?
I did.
Okay.
Yes, but
I didn't know if you wanted to speak.
Oh, I do. I do. And mine are longer, so I'm comfortable with removal of words because I put all the words in there. But the first one was looking at bills and priorities that are in existence that I think we should actually get behind. I think sometimes it's good to tell somebody they're doing a good job, and we appreciate it, right? And one of those things is community schools. And Senator Briggs put in a bill that is now kind of being passed through the Senate in support of community schools throughout the state. They've worked with the University of Tennessee for grant programs and would like to do things that are similar to what we do with the United Way. But we would also be able to partake in this if we want to. But it's the application of community schools throughout the state and that ability. So I wanted to put this in there as a, hey, this is great. It's working well here. We want to support it. And therefore support something that's in motion. Any questions?
That was one of the reasons I wanted to yield. I support that. I think that is something that we do well. You can always do things better, but I just see community schools as a terrific idea and something that has worked in District 1 since I've been here. I've watched it grow. I sat on the board of Great Schools Partnership when it started, and it makes a difference in communities. It helps poor community with schools, and so a lot of what we're doing in 865 works well with that as well, but this does it at the early grade levels, and so I would support this effort because it's something we're already doing and something we can do better.
Ms. Fontenot Ridley.
Thank you. I'll keep my comment short. Thank you for introducing this, Ms. Templeton, because seeing it happen firsthand is amazing, and the people that we have supporting our schools with community partnerships and other people who really want us to succeed makes such a difference in the way our schools function and feel and what they can achieve. So I appreciate this.
If you want to look it up, just so you have it, it's Senate Bill 0364.
Say that again.
0364. If over the next few days you want to look it up.
Ms. Henderson.
Hi, I just have a question. I don't know if this would be for Corey or Dr. Wilson. Do we have data to back up that community schools are working in our schools?
No one else got to hear that, but Dr. Wilson just said, I'm going to let you take that query. So I'll say this. I actually feel like we would be speaking on behalf of community schools. And so United Way has been partnering with UT to perform a pretty comprehensive evaluation of their programming. While folks on our team have definitely been involved in that process, I don't feel like I've seen anything recently enough to be able to answer that question off the cuff. But I do think that if you were to reach out to United Way, they would have some pretty readily available data, and I would recommend doing that.
Okay, thank you.
I have that information from them because I asked the question as well. I did talk to Mr. Dupler to see if it would, how it would change, kind of how we would function, and it would not unless we chose that. And it's opening. They did a caregiver survey, and I could send this to Terry, and she can send it over just about, they have all like that
That'd be
data and the positive results, both from the parents and the children and the teachers, and I think that's important to think through holistically. The copy and the words that are in here, integrating academic, health, social, and family supports, that's what United Way does well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that is, those are words coming from his bill.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, but I'll send that to Terry,
Okay.
and then she can send it out so you can kind of.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Because I would say it, but I can't read it. Okay. It's hard.
So is there any more discussion on community schools? Hardy?
All right, great. Yes. Did you? Okay, great. My second one is, it's also has a lot of words in it, but I feel very strongly that we need to make sure that anything that goes through the process doesn't place additional administrative burdens on the school system. Our goal is to educate children. So at this point, the immigration bill does not have a fiscal note attached, so it will be an unfunded mandate. We will have to pay for that. So that is something to consider with something that's frankly imminent, and people are having conversations about and can change right now. I think that it is concerning regarding cost, staff capacity, the effective use of educational resources. We want to make sure that we protect the local control and how we maintain our safe spaces and our educational spaces, and we do that locally here. So all of those words, that's what that's saying. I'm happy to reword if needed, but that's the goal.
Mr. Triplett?
It is a lot of words.
It's so many words. But I
And,
put a lot of words, so you have all of them, and then we can cut out if you need to.
My question is, it sort of sounds like opposing the unfunded immigration status mandate, the unnecessary requirements, and the local control. It sort of feels like it's all three in one. And I'm wondering if we need that, which is a lot of words, and then all three of those others as well. It sort of seems like it is accomplishing the same thing as those other three. Not necessarily opposing it, but it just.
What other three? Say it
Like
again.
the unfunded immigration standard mandates that
Cat.
Ms. said, then the addressing unnecessary requirements and the local control.
Okay.
It sort of feels like we don't need this one and all three of those.
Right, I do think that, hold, let me review what you just said before I respond.
And again, I don't know that I disagree with what you've written. It just seems
Right.
like a lot, and it's not as, the other one's a little more organized to know, here's specifically what I want. This one just seems like a lot rolled into one, a lot of words into one, but the other three sort of cover the same basis. But that's my opinion. I'm not necessarily against what you wrote, I'm just feeling like it's already written.
Mr. Triplett, can you say what those three is one more time?
Sure, yeah, the one that Ms. Bike proposed, the opposing unfunded immigration status mandates, it's in that email. Then addressing unnecessary requirements and then local control.
Right. So you're saying that with this number 2 from Ms. Templeton, it comprises those three things?
Yeah, it's already covered in those three, so we don't need all three of those and this one, was my opinion, but I'm open to others' thoughts, but that's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Triplett. Ms. Fontenot, no, Mr. Bettler, Reverend Bettler, you're next. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Mr. Triplett asked a good question of Ms. Bike. If they were to fund it, would that make it all right? And that's a great question. And I think I do agree that when we have unfunded requirements, that's a problem. But I think this is a problem even if they fund it. The sentences that I found in Ms. Templeton's number 2 that was most compelling to me was the Knox County Board of Education affirms that public schools exist to educate all children who reside in the district and urges that the state policies support this foundational principle. To me, that's the piece. Now, I really don't want to get into immigration. Just like years ago, we didn't want to get into integration, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of fumbled my words there, because this reminds me of 1970, 1965, 1954. This just reminds me of something that we really don't want to talk about and we really don't want to deal with, but it's staring us right in the face. So for me, the principle that I see here is that public schools exist to educate all children who reside in the district. That, to me, is the fundamental thing that public schools are for.
I'm sorry, but we need to keep the noise to a minimum because it's hard to hear when people are speaking. Go ahead.
So
Dr.
thank you.
Butler.
And so I do believe that having the unfunded requirements is a problem. Having local control, I believe in that. I do believe that, but I really believe that we should educate all students who live here. And District 1, and this is my opinion, I don't have any data per se. I think data exists, but District 1 is one of the most diverse districts in all of Knox County. Lonsdale School is probably one of the most diverse. When I say diverse, I mean internationally diverse. Several languages. And so it affects our schools in such a way that it becomes an unsafe psychosocial environment. Kids, families, teachers are concerned when this issue comes up. Some parents are staying away from the school. Some parents are keeping children away from the school. So this is something that for me, it's more than just about the dollars. And so I don't want to get involved with the I words, but I do think that we can say that we believe that public schools exist to educate all children who reside in the district. That's how plain it is for me. We take everybody. We're not worried about whether you can afford it or not. We take everybody. And so it's easy, and the other thing I would say is that the way I see it, the way we're doing it now is not broke. It's working. And so let's not, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I don't know what the language should be, other than I think we should say the Knox County Board of Education affirms that public schools exist to educate all children who reside in the district and urges the state to support this foundational principle. If that's what we said, that would be fine for me. It's just simple. All the other reasons are great, but the bottom line is that's the reason why I believe that that's what we should do. And excuse me if I go back in my history, just remember 1954, 1965, 1971, because these were the times when, for me, school participation changed. And I think that we had a cross, and this is a Knox County decision as far as the legislative priorities are concerned. So we're not making the decision at the state level. This is what we decide here. So that's my feeling on it. I think it's important that we really think about how do we really feel about this. I'm gonna stop. Thanks.
Ms. Fontenot Ridley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think combining several different legislative priorities together tends to kind of muddy the waters of what we're really trying to say. And I think that this priority, however we word it, is important enough to keep it separate, because we need to have our voices heard that this is what we care about and what we want to protect, which is all of our children. Thank you.
Ms. Pike.
Thank you. I definitely agree with everything Reverend Butler said. And I also appreciate all of the words that Ms. Templeton included in number 2. I think it is really important, and I think that was a part of my sentiment, was the educating all students. And I agree that, what we're doing now works. I guess when I was hearing some of the conversations that were going on through last session, that's where mine and some of my points came from on that, and to kind of be very specific about these are the things that will happen if this goes forward, and asking for those things not to happen. So sometimes my strategy is a little bit like on the other side rather than just saying it. Because I think sometimes people don't think things through. I think the 3rd grade retention law is a really great example of that. We all want kids to have great literacy skills, but kind of how we went about it was maybe not a great way. And I definitely believe in education for all. So I wonder if it is kind of melding some of all of this together to say that the Knox County Schools is in favor of educating all Knox County students, which was a little bit of the kind of, from the resolution that I brought in the springtime in support of students, was kind of the same idea, that if a student lives in Knox County, we are going to educate them. So I'm interested in what kind of wordsmithing that we can bring together to say that I don't think it's enough to just say urge, but maybe an ask that Knox County would like to continue educating all of the students and children that live in the county, regardless of immigration status, regardless of their parents or caregivers, their disabilities and their strengths, that we're going to educate all students. So I think that I would really like to make that the ask, is to allow us to continue educating all students, if that makes sense. And do you feel like that, any of that kind of goes with your number 2?
That was wordsmithing.
Okay, sorry, okay.
All right.
Cool.
Ms. Templeton?
Let's try to make it shorter. And actually, by making this shorter, I made the other one longer. Moving the unfunded mandate piece over, to actually mention unfunded mandates under local control, just as part of that sentence. In general, so if you go back to this sheet here, local control, the bottom one, adjusting Ms. Christie's urges state legislative bodies and regulatory agencies to not impose unfunded mandates or divert resources from the classroom, and to seek input from local boards and determine the full impact on the LEAs, et cetera. So just like adding that piece in there simplifies and makes it kind of make sense, since we're all talking about we want control over what we do here, and an unfunded mandate takes control away by definition. Do we have conversation on that or thoughts? I mean, just by definition, if it's an unfunded mandate, local control is gone or is removed elsewhere.
So you're saying to add a sentence about, something about unfunded mandates
Exactly,
into
and
that?
yes, and I can submit, I'll submit that
Okay.
but if there's any thought initially on that, I'm happy to make other changes too on that piece of it. So that would come out of, no, okay. Ms. Bike, you were talking about number 2.
It would be to somewhere, I'm not trying to add words to your number 2, but as you're taking a
I've
word.
already took some away.
As you're taking
Already
away
taken
words, considering putting, I like to make asks, and the ask would be to allow us to continue educating all students that reside in Knox County, regardless of their A, B, C, and D.
So we're talking about, just to be clear, because I feel like we're kind of getting off the rails here. So we're talking about number 2 on the draft legislative priorities sheet, correct?
Yep. I think what Ms. Templeton suggested with the unfunded mandates, adding that to the unnecessary stuff, that takes care of my ask, so we can kind of put that away. And then focus on the number 2
Over here.
of the draft, yeah.
I mean, that this all went away, right? All that went to there. Okay, I mean, I'm fine to even go to Reverend Butler and just make it a sentence. I mean, the first sentence, Knox County Board of Education affirms that public schools exist to educate all children who reside in the district and urges the state policy to support this foundational principle. Full stop. Like, I'm fine with that.
I guess.
You want more?
Like, I want to ask.
It's short.
It's short.
It's
I like
short.
that it's short, but I want more than urge. I would like to have an ask.
You want an ask.
Yeah,
So you say rather than saying urge, you say ask?
yeah. Or something that means ask, rather than be like, hey, could you? Be like, yes, do this, or yes, allow us to do this.
So what you're suggesting, Ms. Spike, is on number 2, to say the Knox County Board of Education affirms that public schools exist to educate all children who reside in the district, and asks that state policy support this foundational principle.
Yeah.
Oh. Great.
All right, so does anybody have any further discussion on that?
Word count. Better.
All right,
Got Albert?
I love it.
yes.
Madam Chair. I just wanted to say now that we're having the discussion on this affirmation, to me, in all the years I've been in Knox County, and I think to all of my peers as students, like that's been the largest understanding that our county would teach all students, and the fact that we're having this conversation now to not put something forward like this, I just feel like would give a bad impression to students maybe listening in that, oh, that's not actually what we believe. And so the fact that we're putting on a button on this just in the interest of everyone listening, making sure that this like goes forward so that no one gets any wrong understandings about what we do and not support. And so just like as a student who's looked up to the administrators in the organization for so long, just having this language directly written out, I think would be really encouraging to a lot of the kids out there.
Thank you. Ms. Fontenot-Ridley.
Sorry to bump in again. So I like the shortness of the edited version, but I think it's important that we include the regardless part that Ms. Bike put in there, because I think it's important that we make a statement about what we're having to talk about at this point in our history. And, you know, regardless of documentation, regardless of everything that you had in here, I think that's important to keep in there.
All right. Anything else? Mr. Triplett.
What's next steps?
Well, that's a great question. What are the next steps? So we went through our existing ones, and it sounds like the consensus was to, with the exception, maybe wordsmithing a couple, but removing the addressing unnecessary requirements. Was that a consensus? Okay. To join those, okay. Ms. Templeton is going to send us some information on community schools via Ms. Coatney. What other notes do you have there, Ms. Coatney? So we're going to keep the first one. Condense the second one, was that? No.
The second one's a question mark because we don't know if the state did anything.
Oh, Mr. Duper, are you aware of that? If the state did any, oh, it's not, they've not.
Mr.
Okay.
Triplett asked for the bucketing.
Right. Yes. And the condense the academic retention decisions, keeping teacher evaluation. Was that the consensus, I think, it looks like? And some kind of combination of the last two addressing, right? And then as far as the other ones, it sounds like there was going to be some work done and some rewrites, and it might be where we come back to the next meeting and vote on them one by one or together, or if you have a suggestion, Mr. Triplett?
No, I mean, do we vote in December, or are we voting Thursday on these? December, right?
December.
Right, so maybe we can get a copy.
Right.
Can we have them by Thursday, or when we can get them sometime?
That was the hope in having the discussion in November, is that we would have everything finalized in its.
And then maybe we just have one document, and we can just say, all right, if anybody wants to pull one out for an individual vote.
Right, yes.
Select that one, and then we can pull that one out and
Yes.
vote individually on it.
Or if somebody wants to pull one out to change language in it, or offer a friendly amendment or whatever, and then we can just go one by one.
That works.
But the idea was this would give us a month to
Clean it all up.
clean it up, and it sounds like we're going to need every bit of that.
Well, so we don't need the revisions by Thursday or tomorrow.
I don't think necessarily, because we're not voting on it until December.
Right, but I didn't know if we wanted to have additional conversation on Thursday, which then would finalize for December. No.
It's not on the agenda. Yeah, it's not on the agenda for Thursday.
correct.
It could be on the
Yes.
work session agenda in December.
Great.
Yeah. That was the thought. Is everybody good with that? All right. Speaking of the agenda, I've lost mine somewhere here. Was that it? All right, so we are moving on to public forum. Mr. Wright. Hold on, do we need to take a break before public forum? Is anybody asking for a break? Board members, before we move on to public forum, hello, we have several people signed up for public forum, so we're going to take a short break, like a 10 to 15-minute break, and then we'll come back and do public forum, okay? 10 minutes. noisy. Yeah. Sorry. I was afraid no one would hear it. All right, so we are back for public forum. Mr. Wright. We have everybody.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've got several public forum speakers tonight. I do want to remind anybody that's speaking in public forum that you have 3 minutes. Do state your county of residence and your name before you begin. You have to you're limited to speaking about what we talked about on the agenda tonight. That is Board Policy B180 for reference. So you do need to limit anything that you talk about to what we have talked about and what's on the agenda. That being said, first one on the list, Paul DeLeon. Paul, you'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name and county of residence.
I'm Paul DeLeon, 630 Watauga Avenue, Knoxville. Happy birthday, Reverend Butler. I'm a retired school teacher. 20 years ago, I was teaching English language learners at Beaumont and other schools. You have alluded to the legislation to kick immigrant students out of our public schools. I ask you to make it a legislative priority to push back against this cruel and unconstitutional measure, not just for Knox, but for the whole of Tennessee. And properly speaking, this is not an act. We must affirm positively every child's constitutional right to education. I have no kids in KCS, but I am happy to pay taxes because I know that helping young people become knowledgeable, skilled, and responsible adults is essential to the welfare of the entire community. But if you let these outsiders tear the heart out of public education, the promise to educate all children, why should I support your budgets at all? By the way, immigrants pay taxes too. I'm concerned for what will happen to schools like Fulton High, a mile from my home, if it loses hundreds of immigrant students. Very likely the school itself would go on the chopping block. I'm concerned about the psychological harm to our Tennessee-born students when they see their friends and classmates or their classmates' parents being hauled away because of their ethnicity. I'm concerned for the moral harm to the students who find a way, like good Germans, to rationalize these great crimes. I fear that expelling immigrants will deprive our remaining students of the precious opportunity to learn about cultures and experiences different from their own. My father was the son of immigrants. As a kid, my father scrounged the local dump, worked as a farmhand, set up pins in a bowling alley, cleaned spittoons and bathrooms, spent 4 years in the factory before he ever got to high school. Education was my father's ticket to the middle class. Eventually, he became a grade school teacher. It's no coincidence that the widespread national support for public education emerged just as early waves of immigration were reaching these shores. In fact, there's a 2018 article called Nation Building Through Compulsory Schooling During the Age of Mass Migration. Public schools are simply the most effective way to integrate our nation's many communities, which is also, of course, the reason generations of racists fought to keep our schools segregated. I hate to see our cherished schools turned into a weapon against my neighbors. The promise to educate all children infuriates the people who are trying to dismantle our public schools. You should understand, when you fight to protect our immigrant students, you are fighting to protect public education itself. Please make that your legislative priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Our next speaker is Gordon Gibson. Gordon, you'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name and county of residence.
Gordon Gibson, Knox County resident, actually reside in a former junior high school, the former Park Junior High. And I am delighted to have heard board members affirm tonight, your job is to educate all students in Knox County. Your job is indeed that, producing well-educated school graduates, the people who will go on to be employees, employers, taxpayers, parents themselves. this bill, House Bill 793, would seek to block the education of some Knoxville students. It would seek to burden us with uneducated people. That would be a burden. I have thought in the past that it's wonderful that Knox County Schools works not with a few language groups, but with students and parents speaking dozens of languages from all around the world. That's the sort of place I'm glad I live in. So, I do hope that you will take a clear stand against this proposed legislation, which strikes me, a retired minister, as unchristian, also un-Jewish, un-Muslim, un-Buddhist, probably many other things. It would, it seems to me, give some added work, not very useful work, to the school system without offering you anything in the way of funds. It's just a bad idea. So I was glad to hear clear, strong words this evening saying it should be a legislative priority for us to oppose this. Thank you. Keep at it.
Thank you, Gordon. Lance McCold. Please state your name and county of residence.
I'm Lance McCold, and I live in Knox County in District 5. Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you for hearing us. I am also here to talk about the legislative priority of opposing this terrible bill, HB 793. And I want to draw your attention to your oath of office. I'm going to read it to you for the benefit of all those who maybe have forgotten it or the members of the audience. It says, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Tennessee, and the Charter of Knox County, Tennessee, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office to the best of my ability. So each and every one of you has solemnly sworn to support, obey, and defend the U.S. Constitution. Every one of us pledges the allegiance to the flag or the nation that our flag represents, but only office holders make this pledge to defend the Constitution. It's hard to imagine a heavier, weightier oath than this, it seems to me. So this bill, HB 793, is the House version of the Senate bill that's already passed. It's sitting in a bill in the House Finance Committee, ready to jump as soon as the new legislature opens up here. It's a clear and present danger. Now, there's a threat to the Constitution because our Constitution says that states may not deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Now, common sense says immigrant children are persons just like the rest of us. The Supreme Court has ruled just that same thing in Plyler v. Doe in 1982. Now, HB 793 is an attack on the Constitution. HB 793 urges school districts across the state, if it were to pass, to violate the Constitution by refusing to admit immigrant children in violation of the Constitution. So the legislative priorities is one of your best opportunities to speak up and to support and defend the Constitution. What you are doing when you say no to something like 793 is you are standing for the Constitution. Of course, you know, that might not be what you want to do, in which case you'd be turning your back on your oath of office. And I hope you do the right things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lance. Next is Cassie Waters. Cassie, please state your name. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, Cassie Waters, Knox County. Lived and owned a home in District 2 since 2008. Happy birthday, Reverend Butler. I'm here tonight also to encourage you to support a legislative priority that protects all students and their right to a free public education. I believe that bills introduced and being considered by our Tennessee General Assembly, such as Senate Bill 836, which passed in the full Senate despite our Knox County Republican senators voting against it, and House Bill 793, which seek to exclude and charge tuition to students who cannot prove permanent legal citizenship, are utterly harmful to the mission and environment of our local public schools. I am a proud product of Oklahoma City Public Schools. I'm sorry about the timing with Oklahoma. And the daughter of a lifelong public school teacher who now also resides in the county. Why do I feel this legislative priority is important? In part, it is because when I reflect on what the greatest positive impact was on me from going to public schools, other than the work and dedication of teachers and staff, it is the diversity of the students and the environment created by the existence of schools that serve every child. Learning to live in that diverse environment is what prepared me to live in the world in which we all live. I'm alarmed by the increasing attempts by some elected officials to increase criminalization of our neighbors and anyone who attempts to assist or provide services to them. I'm alarmed by increasing attempts to decrease access to and to defund our public good resources. I believe part of the aim of these attempts is to divide us and pit us against one another, as well as to take control of our public good resources. I believe speaking out about the desire of this school district to continue to keep its doors open to all students is important, given your mission to prepare students for life by providing a high-quality education that is accessible, meaningful, and future-focused. Your oath to support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and your policy to work for the passage of new laws designed to advance the cause of improving education and for the repeal or modification of existing laws and the defeat of proposed laws that impede this cause. The time to express yourselves about the kind of local schools we deserve is now. These harmful bills are a step towards a world where no one wins. All of our students deserve to feel safe, supported, and welcome in our public schools. All of our educators and staff deserve to be supported to do their job and not be asked to decide who gets to enter their school's doors and who doesn't. I urge you to consider, as you have done tonight, to continue listening to constituents and leading rather than following. If we do not use our local democratic small d voices, then there is no democracy. I'm urging you to do just that by continuing to support a legislative priority with protective language for all students in your legislative priorities moving forward. I appreciate your time and service to the students, families, and community members of Knox County and to the personnel of Knox County Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassie. Next is Emma Ellis Kosuiga. Sorry if I said that wrong. Please state your name and county of residence. You'll have 3 minutes.
Feliz cumpleaños, Reverend Butler. Happy birthday. Hi, I am Emma Ellis Kosigua. I live in Knox County's District 2. I am here to speak about the legislative priorities that you will vote on. I lived in the U.S. since I was 13 years old. I am a mother, a grandmother, a voter, a business owner. And like every parent I know, mine chose to bring me to the U.S. so that I would have access to a better life. I did not speak English. I studied hard to learn it. I was bullied and laughed at, but I did not give up. I know there are children going through similar struggles, feeling unwanted, scared, and unseen. For them, school might be the only consistent, safe space in this world outside of their home, like it was for me. As you prepare to vote on the priorities in December, as a voter, I request for you to stand together against House Bill 793, that you protect every child's constitutional right to a free public education. And that is not an ask. I heard your discussions about asking. It's a demand, because it is a constitutional protected right. Board members, I read your statements when you ran for the position you now hold. Not one of you expressed an interest in denying any students the right to a free education. You wanted to improve literacy, parents' rights, limited government involvement, and great schools for every Knox County child. You remember what you said. Now you have the opportunity to keep your word. Before you vote, consider a few things. What will your actions say about you at the end of the day? What will the short and long-term consequences of aiding politicians whose aim is to take away from children the right to learn? What would it take for you to stand strong and united as a board to protect all Knox County students? Consequences: U.S. literacy rates will drop. Some schools will close. Longer commutes to your jobs, job losses across the board. Businesses will close. More crime, more homelessness. Our economy will fall at a faster rate than it's falling as we know it. It would affect us all. Every child, regardless of immigration status, is a living being. If you are pro-life, you will defend them. I ask of you to defend their right to learn. You will have our support. You see us all here. So,
Thank you,
how
Anna.
do you choose to be remembered?
It's 3 minutes.
Okay. As a champion for children, or as a serial killer of dreams? Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Next is Coley Pipkin. Coley Pipkin. All right, next is Cadence Collins.
Happy birthday, Reverend Butler.
Cadence,
Hello.
you'll have 3 minutes.
Yes.
Please state your name and county of residence.
Sure. Hi, I'm Cadence Collins. I was born and raised and still happily living in Hardin Valley, District 6, and Knox County. Madam Chair and members of the board, earlier this evening, we all pledged together with liberty and justice for all. It's a phrase that we learned as kids, standing in school, hand over heart, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I remember how proud I felt every morning to be an American, how it felt to be part of something bigger than myself, and to believe in a country that stands for freedom and fairness. Every day, 1 million Tennessee children pledge their allegiance, inspired by a country committed to liberty and justice for all. Sadly, there are some Americans who don't believe in liberty and justice for all, and those people would deny that liberty and justice applies to children with a different skin color, religion, disability, or place of birth. That loud but small group of people have our state legislator considering a law that would deny a free public education to children because they were born elsewhere and brought here by their parents. Immigrant children have dreams, just like we did, just like my kid does, and yours do too. Every child deserves the opportunity to make those dreams a reality. Our Constitution says every child, regardless of how they came to our country, is entitled to a free public education. The Supreme Court affirmed this interpretation in 1982 in its ruling in Plyler v. Doe. So now is the time to be proactive rather than reactive. We can sit by silently as the legislature moves to pass a law encouraging unconstitutional treatment of our students, or we can let our lawmakers know that we stand with the Constitution and with our students. We will not forget our pledge to stand for liberty and justice for all, and we will not accept unconstitutional and inhumane treatment of our students here in Knox County. I urge you to advocate for policies that protect the educational rights of all students, regardless of race, religion, disability, or immigration status. So as we reflect on those 6 words, with liberty and justice for all, let's remember our commitment to every child in Knox County who looks up at the flag and pledges their allegiance to our nation. Together, we can ensure that Knox County Schools embodies those ideals, shining as a beacon of hope for every child in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Cadence. Next is Sam Brown. Sam, please state your name and county of residence. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Sam Brown, Knox County District 1, and a very happy birthday to my school board representative and my predecessor, Reverend Dr. John Butler. On behalf of the Knoxville branch of the NAACP, we urge you to formally and unmistakably stand in opposition to Tennessee House Bill 793. This proposed legislation threatens to undermine fundamental constitutional protections. It threatens to erode the promise of public and equitable education and to inflict harm on children in our community, including children of color, children from immigrant families, and other vulnerable students. As the nation's oldest and boldest civil rights organization, our principal concern is the violation of the 14th Amendment. I have here with me today a good friend of mine. Some of you may or may not know him, Justice Thurgood Marshall, who in his argument in 1954, which is our hallmark case, used the 14th Amendment as the basis for his litigation. Today, in Knox County, you have the opportunity to be on the right side of history. As the governing body of Knox County Schools, you are the frontline guardian of educational access, equity, and justice. By formally opposing House Bill 793, you send a clear message of committing to being inclusive and just being kind to all people who reside in Knox County. The spirit of our shared interest, and I've told you all before, the NAACP in no way stands in opposition to you. We consider ourselves to be your accountability partner. Because of the work we do, we help to make you do better. And so I will close with this from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 25. Then they will reply, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not help you? And he will answer, I tell you the truth. When you refused to help the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were refusing to help me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Next is Andrea Uriarte. Please state your name and County of Residence, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello. Good evening to all board members. My name is Andrea Uriarte, and I live in Chihuahua neighborhood, District 6. I am a first-generation immigrant and what many refer to as a dreamer. I came to this country as a teenager and have lived in the United States since then. I previously had DACA, but gained citizenship a couple of years ago. I am dedicated to music performance in various styles. One of my performances is has an educational focus on teaching children about the challenges of growing up as an immigrant child in the South, as well as the cultural diversity among Latin American countries. Earlier this year, HB 793 was introduced at the state level. It would have allowed schools to deny enrollment to undocumented students. While that bill didn't pass, similar proposals are likely to return. I'm asking this board to take a local stand by including language in your legislative priorities affirming every child's right to a free public education, and by considering a resolution in the future that makes clear Knox County's commitment to educate and protect all children who live here. Life as an undocumented immigrant can be pretty devastating. It creates a double standard of living that can be hard to grasp if you haven't gone through anything like that before. As an immigrant child in Tennessee, I had to encounter many obstacles in relationship to my new environment, such as isolation from not being able to speak the language and not being able to drive and be part of society. This isolation led to a deep depression, which not only affected me, but also affected my mother, who was the only adult in my life at the time. Our situation became worse with time, and it got to a point where my mom was not able to take care of me anymore. She could barely take care of herself due to her mental illness, and this led me to ask for help at the school I was attending. I felt safe enough to do so. I trusted my educators and staff administration. At my school, there was a teacher who had taken an interest in me. She saw my potential and encouraged me to dream past the many obstacles in my path. I would often tell her about my issues at home. One day, it became evident that I was not doing well in the environment I was in, and since I was already 18 years old, the school gave me the option to move into a transitional shelter. Having access to the shelter was what started the healing process for my mother and me, and to this day I believe it was only possible because of my teacher, who cared enough to notice and allow me to feel welcome enough to confide in her. At the shelter, my mother and I had access to mental health professionals so as to ensure we could reunite. And I've been grateful to all of them ever since. So when schools focus on inclusion and learning, not documentation, they remain strong, safe, and centered on their mission. This isn't about politics.
Thank you, Andrea.
It's about ensuring that every child who walks through our door has the chance to learn, grow, and dream. I hope you all can consider the safety of thousands of children at the time of making your decision towards this vote and choose to protect them all rather than to intimidate them. Thank you very much.
Next is Claudia Mata. Please state your name and county of residence. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Claudia Mata, and I live in District 1. Good evening, members of the board. Happy birthday, Mr. Butler. And I'm a proud Knoxville resident for over 25 years, a single mother, and a college student myself, and an immigrant. All 3 of my children graduated from Knox County Public Schools, and today, all 3 are either enrolled at or graduates of the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. I'm here because I'm deeply concerned about proposals at the state level that will allow or even require schools to deny children their freedom to learn. If a law like this had existed years ago, my oldest son will never have been able to attend school here in Knoxville. He wouldn't have walked the halls of Fairgood High School. He would have gone on the, he he wouldn't have gone on to be a proud graduate of the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, giving back to the community that gave him so much. Public education is supposed to be the great equalizer. It's where every child, no matter where they were born or what language they speak at home, has a chance to learn, grow, and become part of our shared future. Our schools should never be a place of fear. Every child who walks through the school doors deserves to feel safe, welcome, and valued. Turning kids away or making them afraid to come to school doesn't just hurt those children, it hurts entire classrooms and communities. I'm asking this school board to stand firm and speak out against any policy that will deny a child an education. Please make it clear that in Knox County, every child belongs and every child deserves the freedom to learn. You can do so by adding this to your legislative priorities. We must affirm their right to an education. Because when we lift up every student, we lift up the entire Knoxville community. And that's what public education is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Next is Damian Felipe. Damian, please state your name and your county of residence.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank God for giving me another day of life and for giving all of you the opportunity to be here to make our schools and community better. Thank you for taking the time to listen tonight. It means a lot for me. My name is Damian, and I'm 12 years old and live in District 2. I go to Gresham Middle School, where I'm a part of the school band and play the trumpet, which I love because music makes me happy. I've also been in a drama club. I love art and drawing, and I also like swimming and play soccer. On Sundays, I serve as an altar server at my church. Wow, now that I say all that out loud, I feel a little tired. But this is my world, a world full of learning, activities, and dreams for my future. Like me, there are many other kids who dream big, who want to be doctors, teachers, engineers, or artists. School gives us a place to dream and to grow. It's where we make friends, learn new things, and find teachers who believe in us. But lately, I've heard about ideas that could stop some of my friends from being able to go to school just because of where they were born. That makes me sad because school should be for everyone. Every child deserves to learn, to feel safe, and to dream big. That's why I'm asking this board to show its support for every child by making sure your legislative priorities clearly protect the right of free public education for all students in Knox County. I also hope you keep working toward a future resolution that reaffirms that every child who lives here deserves to learn and protected at school. Please, let us be kids. Let us explore our world, learn, and dream without fear. I'll finish with a verse from Matthew 19:14. Let the children come to me, and do not stop them, for to such belongs the kingdom for heaven. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Damian. Next is Melly Felipe. Please state your name and county of residence. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Meli Felipe, and I am from District 2. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight on behalf of my people in my community. I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to this country for giving me the opportunity to receive an education, an opportunity that made me the first in my family to attend college. My education has opened doors for me, and I am now working towards my bachelor's degree in business administration, with plans to pursue a master's degree in law. Recently, a state proposal sought to allow schools to deny K-12 enrollment to certain students based on immigration status. While that bill did not pass, similar proposals may return. Measures like these place schools in a difficult position, forcing educators to focus on paperwork instead of teaching, and making some children feel unsafe in the one place that should welcome them. If laws like that had existed when I was younger, many students like me would have lost their chance to learn, to grow, and to give back to their community. That kind of policy doesn't just harm individual children, it would harm our entire community. As Francis Bacon said, knowledge itself is power. Education gives children the power to dream and to build better lives, not only for themselves, but for the place they call home. When we invest in every child, we invest in the future teachers, business owners, and community leaders of Knox County. I'm asking this board to take a local stand by including language in your legislative priorities, affirming every child's right to a free public education, and by considering a future resolution that makes clear Knox County's commitment to educate and protect all children who live here. Let's not take away a child's dream. Let's give them the tools to make it real, and I am living proof of that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Melly. Next is Julian A. I'm not sure what the last name spelling is. Aponte. Okay, gotcha. Julian, please state your name and county of residence. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Julian Aponte. I live in District 7 and I attend Career Magnet Academy. I'll be eligible to vote in 2 years, and I'm here today because I care deeply about my fellow students, but also my disapproval for Bill HB 73. I love this country, and one reason why America's always been so strong is its commitment to education and the idea that anyone can make themselves, no matter where they come from. And I think it really connects to this idea of making sure that every child, no matter where they come from, has a chance to learn and grow and contribute to a shared future. Public education is the backbone of this democracy. Schools are meant to build futures and give the next generation the tool to think critically and share ideas and become productive citizens of this society. When we start turning families away or making them think that they're afraid to send their children to school, we're not protecting our communities, we are weakening them. The Supreme Court case Plyer versus Dole made it clear that every child has the right to a public education, regardless of their immigration status. So when we start to, sorry, I lapsed. Denying or discouraging that right goes against our country's ideals. If fear keeps families from sending their kids to school, everyone loses. Children, teachers, neighborhoods. Those same students could have grown up to be doctors, engineers, or even future council members, just like all you guys right here. And people come to America because they believe in that opportunity, that fairness, and that hope, that something we should never turn our backs on. And it's one of the reasons why this country is so successful. So instead of dividing families, let's strengthen our schools and make sure that every child feels welcome to learn. That's how we build a stronger, more united community and better future for this country. So I ask you to be a champion of the children of Knox County and children for all over this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Next is Lisa McLeod. Lisa, please state your name and county of residence. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Lisa McLeod, and I live in Knox County. I have 4 children. Each of them are in 4 different schools right now. So I feel like I have a little bit of a view of different schools. And I want to say that we talk a lot about how if we don't allow all children to have an education, that those children are going to be injured. I believe that all children will be injured. My children will be injured. I have children from several different ethnic and cultural backgrounds. And one of the things that I believe about public schools is that it is the place where you have to learn to get along with other people. You get to learn to hear other viewpoints, and have to think about what you believe too. And when we homogenize our school system and exclude people who don't look like us or don't speak like us, we all lose. So I would ask you I really appreciate the conversation here tonight. I really appreciate, Reverend Butler, your very strong words about inclusion. I would ask that you consider adding something about supporting the 14th Amendment and equal protection for all students. And I would also ask that you not only make this a local issue here, but that this board has the chance to take a leadership role in this state, and it is sorely needed. We are a state that needs to first uphold the Constitution, but also to be able to talk about how these issues are about safety for our communities, they're about fairness, and they're about economic benefit in our communities. It's not just about doing the right thing, but it is about doing the right thing, and the time is now to stand up and to be very clear that we are opposing HB 793 or any other legislation that would deny children equal protection and equal access to a free and public education. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lisa. And with that concludes public forum, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. Moving on to board forum, we will start with our student rep, Mr. Liu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who came out today, especially to Damien. You know, sitting on this board I'm like nervous every time I speak, so as a middle schooler coming up here and saying all that, you know, that's really encouraging. And you know, I have an older sister too, and so you went before your older sister, so that's really the big thing for me. So could we get a big round of applause for Damien and for everyone here today? Other than that, though, I think the students of Knox County are just really excited for a day off tomorrow for Election Day. But on the topic of Election Day, Farragut High School, I wanted to shout out a couple of students working on Future Leaders Day, which centers around civic engagement for them to learn about all the different types of government, but not just that, also mock trial is going to be there, DEC is going to be there, and so that's open to any middle schooler in Knox County who might want to learn about some clubs offered at high school or some skills to build about leadership, public speaking, activism, all of that. But other than that, just excited for, you know, a day off tomorrow.
Thank you. Dr. Butler.
Just thank you to all you who wish me a happy birthday. And since I have to be here and glad to be here, thank you for celebrating my birthday with me.
Thank you. Ms. Templeton.
I won't sing, but I will wish you another happy birthday. And it's now in my calendar, so the future is bright. I'll remember it. Yes, you're right. Tomorrow is voting day, so I encourage everyone in our community to get out and vote. That's the hallmark of our democracy, so I hope that everyone will do that. If you were not able to early vote, hope that you will go vote. And then Dr. Reiswig mentioned that this is the month of Thanksgiving, and it feels like an eternity away, but we will blink and we will be there, and you will have 3 more days off, Albert. So we are looking forward to that, so I will say thank you to the staff for the work that you do. It is very much appreciated. You answer emails so rapidly and thoroughly, and it is, yeah, like I said, just appreciate it. I appreciate, obviously, Public Forum as well. So wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Ms. Templeton. Ms. Fontenot-Ridley.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out and making your voices heard. I really appreciate it, and keep doing that, because without it, we're toast. So I also want to thank Cedar Bluff Elementary and Cedar Bluff Pre-K. I got the chance to be in part of 2 ribbon cuttings on the same day, one for a new turf playground at Cedar Bluff Elementary, and one for a book bus. I'm not even exactly sure what the bus is called, but I've been calling it a book bus that travels around to the pre-K programs in the county because they don't have libraries. So I'm excited that the Ice Bears helped make that a possibility, and happy birthday, Reverend Dr. Butler. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fight?
Thank you. Happy birthday, Reverend Butler. I will also save you my singing. I know that a lot of times, like, public forum, takes time, but I think that that's a little bit of our job is to listen to our community. And I know that we get emails and calls and text messages and all of that, but there's something that I love about seeing faces come and speak at public forum and hearing the individual voices and the individual stories, that regardless of whether it's something I agree with or not, it's just so nice to hear and be a part of. So thank you all for showing up and for all the people that show up at public forum. And also encourage every City of Knoxville resident to go vote tomorrow. Thank you.
Ms. Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Really wonderful, impressive youth, inspiring and impressive youth. There were several of you that I found just astounding in what you said. I wanted to give a shout out, a thank you to the town of Farragut. We're approving their grants on Thursday, and the town of Farragut partners with our Farragut schools tremendously in service and this grant that they award yearly. So thank you to the town of Farragut for all they do for us.
Thank you. Ms. Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy birthday, Reverend Butler. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. I just wanted to welcome again the TAPS class that's teaching as a profession. They have 22 students here this evening, and these are our future educators. So thank you for being here and learning about this process and listening to us. And I look forward to going to dinner with you after. We'll debrief this whole meeting at dinner. So just thank you to Ms. Cheryl as well. She's the teacher who is just phenomenal and leads these kids every year.
Mr. Triplett.
Just want to say happy birthday to Reverend Butler. I know there's no greater gift that you could ever receive than spending your birthday with us. So.
Mr. Wright.
I'll also be the next to last to say happy birthday to Reverend Butler.
All right. And I'll end it by saying happy birthday again, Reverend Butler. And with that, we are adjourned.